You just tuned in to Up for Discussion.
Give you some ears here. Who you're listening to. One minute. Doesn't matter.
Starting on this one.
You guys get a chance, go ahead and tune on. We will be live here in about 1 minute. Stay tuned.
Tune on.
Find out what Woke in the Woods is here in about 14 seconds. All right, here we are. Where's our? It may be in me. There we are.
There you is.
All right. So this evening.
Thanks, Jake Consalvi, for the Black Rifle coffee. What is this? Espresso with cream.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
He said since the Green Goblin outrun his bow today, this was the payment.
That's a good payment.
I've never had one, so here we go. Not bad.
So this evening, we will be talking about Woke in the Woods here on Up for Discussion. This is episode 50, and this should be an interesting one. Usually we try and stay away from topics like this, but we had someone almost make a request, and we felt like, why not? Let's give it a try.
What does that have to do with us, Woke in the Woods?
So this evening, what we're going to touch on is how woke policies or policies with a liberal skew have a tendency to affect not only hunting laws, but also infiltrate its way into ideologies, even amongst hunters.
That sounds deep.
It can be.
I would think also how we're viewed from certain parts of the public.
I think that's a major part of it too.
So if you think about the people, there's videos out there you can watch of hunters being, I would have to say, harassed or grotesquely mistreated.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to use the verbiage and language there to make it, but that seems right to me. Someone could say it better than that. But wildly mistreated based upon the fact that they shot a deer.
Or any animal.
Or something. Yeah. But I have one in my mind in particular where an individual, a hunter, had harvested a doe or shot a doe to feed because they love to eat deer meat.
Sure.
And the neighbors, I guess, had what we would call in Southern Illinois a high-speed come apart because they felt like, you shouldn't be shooting the deer. And that to me would be the infiltration to some degree of wokeness into the public and the culture on how they view a deer hunter or a rabbit hunter or a what else hunter,
Sure. We've all probably seen protests regarding hunting or and across multiple different avenues on TV or internet or social media. There's a lot of things pertaining towards groups that find what we do repugnant.
I just have to take a side journey. I missed the shake well before opening. All right. So I'm sure this is way better if you shake it well before.
Well, do you shake it or do you shake yourself?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're going to tackle this evening is those topics. I know how many years has it been since, was it Leo the Lion? Was that right?
I have no idea.
Do you remember that?
Leo the Lion.
Yeah.
I know. Is that where? No, you'll have to. Maybe you'll have to tell me because I don't know.
Let me look it up real quick. So Leo the Lion was a lion that. No, it's not Leo. What was it? Let me.
What was the lion off of Madagascar, James? You don't watch cartoons? Alex? Somebody in the comments if you know the name of the lion.
Cecil the Lion.
Cecil the Lion.
So
okay.
Cecil the Lion was the lion that was killed, and man, it was massively protested because he was this giant, old lion, and there were all sorts of groups, PETA and several others that came out to basically to protest the fact that this animal had died. But a lot of them don't understand the events that occur there, because in Africa, when that lion is taken out, it's strategically taken out. It's not taken out just willy nilly. The guy didn't go out and just,
Jump into the bush and shoot a lion.
Sure.
I mean, that was a planned, probably methodically planned type deal.
Yeah. And
there's probably many reasons for that, and different reasons for different ones. But
so let's see what Wikipedia has to say. Cecil was a male African lion who lived primarily in the Hwange National Park. He was being studied and tracked by a research team of University of Oxford. It's part of a long study. So the argument, this is where it gets, a little fuzzy. Cecil was lured out of protected area and wounded by an arrow of what they call a big game trophy hunter. Then tracked and killed with a compound bow the following morning. How do you determine that he was lured out of a protected area? And if that's the case, is that not still free range hunting?
The crazy thing is stuff like that. The facts are sometimes so skewed in language.
Absolutely.
I think that's what you're alluding to.
Yes.
The fact that
well, it's almost spun.
You use a word like lured. Who knows? Did a hunter lure him?
or did he wake up and
the zebra that he was chasing lure him into the next unit or zone or whatever, unprotected, so to speak. And then, man, if you could talk to the people, or take Africa for instance, you talk to that is one of the most managed places.
Massively managed.
Nothing gets killed there without the right protocol management. And if it is, it's poaching. And poaching in Africa, if you watch some of the seriousness of poaching in Africa, you don't get a ticket. You probably got shot.
Yeah, you got killed.
They kill poachers over there. So
because it's the well-being and the lifeblood of those countries.
Yeah. So what was his name? Cecil?
Cecil the lion.
Did it say he was 13 years old? Is that what I read over there?
Yeah, he was really old.
So that's an old lion.
Yeah.
I'm sure the guides that were guiding said this is an old lion that is on his way to being played out. People don't understand how cruel it is out there, and it's not like they're running out there. And there may be instances where they kill younger lions because of overpopulation or something to that nature.
Yeah.
But as a rule of thumb, those places like that, and it's, when you're talking to a person that is, I guess what we're saying, woke to some degree in that area, it would be hard for them. It's a hard thing to explain to them, I guess. But we need to figure out a way to explain it to them.
I think this is where the laws change, though, regarding. So when we go to Africa, if we were to kill a lion, we couldn't bring that lion back. No part of him whatsoever. And I think this is a direct result of this event, because it says the killing was first reported by South African wildlife investigative reporter Adam Cruz, writing for Conservation Action Trust. It resulted in international media attention and caused outrage among animal conservationists, criticism by politicians and celebrities, and a strong negative response against the hunter himself, Palmer, who did nothing other than hunt. Like, he went over there with the intention of killing, a lion, and there was a guide that said, "That's the lion. Shoot that deer or that animal."
Which had, I'm sure had, I don't know the whole details, but I'm assuming had the legal right to say that's the one.
Yeah, because
he was in a what do they call them there? units.
They call them concessions.
Concession. He was in a concession that concession says that this outfitter can kill.
Sure.
I'm spitballing, but could kill 5 lions off that concession, and they need to be mature, older lions.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I'm assuming that's what happened. And then what happened after that, I guess the deeper part of the story is that the animal rights or the wokeness of that in that area. There's all kinds of realms that we would call wokeness, I guess, but in that area it turned into probably they try to destroy people's lives.
Yes, they do. And I think that's exactly what happened to that Palmer guy. So Cecil's killing went largely unnoticed in the animal's native Zimbabwe, the country's. So it wasn't even in the country itself,
Right.
really that big a deal. But
other people.
Yeah, it was made out to be a huge deal.
Yeah. So how does that?
Well, get this first.
Okay.
On August 1st, 2015, in response to Cecil's killing, the hunting of lions, leopards, and elephants, along with all bow hunting, was immediately suspended in the area outside of that national park by Zimbabwe's environment minister, who said all such hunts will be conducted if confirmed and authorized in writing. So they changed some laws and shifted some things. But at the end of the day, there was nothing done that was outside of the realm of what was right.
Right. What the country had said is legal.
Yes. The animal left the area that was a conservation area. And when it left that area, I mean, here's the thing. The same people that would argue that it was wrong for that guy to kill it would also argue that it would be wrong to cage him in that area. So it's like there has to be some give and take on those things. Right. And my issue with a large majority of it is that the ideology that looks at this and says that man was wrong is also the ideology that creeps into hunting in general and says that we should apologize for our kill, or we should feel bad whenever we do it, or looks at it like, how many times have I watched the Outdoor Network and they get down and they're like rubbing the deer and saying, thank you for your life.
Yeah.
And I want to be like, okay, yeah, it's okay to look at the animal and be like, yeah, that's going to
respect that.
Yeah, we'll respect it.
Nobody, I don't know any hunter. Maybe there's some out there, but I'm just saying in my circle of hunters, I don't, and I'm sure you'd say, I don't know any hunter that's tickled pink if things don't go 100% right.
But we can get very weird about things if we look at it through woke ideology.
Sure.
Like that animal was created by God for us.
Yeah.
That's how I view it.
And God himself said to kill him and eat him.
Yeah. Like arise, kill, and eat.
And when we were out there a while ago and talking about it, I've always thought the animal rights wokeness of trying to protect it and telling a hunter that he is skewed wrong and a terrible person to go out there and shoot a deer, or a terrible person to go out there and hunt a coyote, or a terrible whatever you're hunting, to hunt anything in general. That is a form of what the Bible talks about. And I said this out there when we were discussing it shortly. Worshiping the creation and not the creator.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not into that.
No. I mean, so first of all, so I guess we could end the podcast now and say, if everyone would believe God's word, believe in Jesus as their Lord and Savior, believe the word, then there wouldn't be this.
Yeah, but I would say, I would argue this though, that amongst the hunting community, or amongst the average hunter, they have morals and they understand conduct well enough to make sure that things are done right amongst the
Right.
average guy.
Sure. And there's always going to be somebody that does wrong things. But the old saying, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's always, whether it's hunting, whether it's sports, whether it's driving a car down the road, somebody right now is going 95 miles an hour in a 55 zone.
Mm-hmm.
But I sure don't want them to do away with the privilege and the right to be able to get myself to the next place efficiently because of that numbskull. So, that being said, it's almost like a disclaimer. There's going to be somebody that does wrong things in hunting. There's poachers and there's people that go outside.
Sure, but the thing is, you and I would look at those people and be like, not cool. We're not on board
Right,
with
not
that.
cool. And then some, and this is on the other end, because of some laws are written to where I would say that's ridiculous
Sure,
because of wokeness, probably.
absolutely.
Like it's unethical, and hunters will get on board with that and say it's like unethical. Well, the whole corn pile thing, to put a corn pile out and hunt a deer next to a corn pile and say that, it's like, why?
Well, even at this, like we live in the state of Illinois,
Right.
and anybody who knows anything about this state knows that
It's woke.
massively.
But it's changing.
Well,
I'm believing it's changing.
but our laws come from a different mindset than what Southern Illinois, where we live,
Right.
view things.
Right.
I mean, we have a governor who,
For the most part, yeah.
for a massive
Yeah.
part of it,
Yeah. I mean, the
Like,
majority.
we've got a governor who looks at guns as a problem rather than a solution to a problem. Like, because I can tell you right now, my view on it is, I want more guns. I think everyone should have guns.
Yeah.
You know what protects homes from invaders? Guns.
Yeah.
You know what is the great equalizer? Guns.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who said that. What was that saying?
Dr. Lester Sumrall, which was a wonderful evangelist and ministered in 120 countries around the world, missionary work, and still he's in heaven and still has some of the biggest ministries that are still going today. But anyway, I heard him, I was watching a sermon. He died in 96, I believe, but I was watching him preach. I listened to him from time to time. And he had said, give one man in a town a gun and you'll have a dictator. Give every man in that town a gun and you'll have a bunch of equal, good people.
Yeah.
It was probably worded a little different than that, but that's what he said. You take a town, give one man in the town a gun, and he'll dictate and run that whole town. He'll dominate and he'll call every shot that is called. He'll tell you how to spend your money and when to work and when not to work. But then you give everybody a gun, and they're like, "Oh, well, we love you.
So
let's all get along here."
This was the quote that I was thinking
Okay.
of. And it's God created men. Sam Colton made them equal.
Made them equal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because power is and a gun would be a form of power.
Well, and here's the thing.
Until it's not.
What does the Bible? What does the Bible, since we're referencing the Bible, say about a man coming into your home? Like a strong man who comes into your home. You know what I mean? Like, it's better for you to be prepared. What's that scripture about a strong man coming into your home?
I know. I couldn't quote it. I know that there is scripture along those lines. And Jesus even told the disciples to go buy a sword.
Yeah.
Which would have been a gun of the day. Kind of. I mean, I guess a bow may have been more gun-esque of the day, but and then there's the whole there's scripture that talks about, since we're referring to the Bible, was that should be the basis of everything we refer to
So
in life.
so here it is, Mark 3:27. In fact, no one can enter a strong man's house without first tying him up. Then he can plunder the strong man's house. So
So
basically, you take away his strength,
you take away his gun,
and then you can take away
and
who
you tied him up.
and you can take away everything else that he has.
Yeah.
So we here at Ultra Products and at Up for Discussion are pro gun.
Yeah.
We are pro Second Amendment because we believe that a strong man has the right to protect his home and to protect his property. And I would challenge any government official to show me through constitutional law how how you can justify taking the arms of the American people. I say no, sir. We will not have it. So,
Yeah. Well, and that's what makes America America.
that's right.
And that's why, they can make all the arguments they want. I mean, maybe it's it has to do with wokeness still, or liberalism, or new age thinking. I don't know what you want to call it. I don't, but that's what happens in certain areas in the country that are gun-free zones, and those are the most dangerous places in
Absolutely.
the country.
I mean, living in the state of Illinois, you can see it, and you can see it statistically. Where do you not want to go? Well, I don't want to go up to Chicago. That place is dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, what's the gun laws up
going,
there?
You
You can't own one.
Yeah, and there's a theme of anybody from outside there that goes to those places. They want to pick the brains of people that know the area good. It's like, tell me where not to be,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. So, yeah, that's not the way it should be. That's not the way our forefathers, or however you want to say that, ever meant for it to be. And
How do you think that affects the way we hunt?
That's what I was going to say. I don't know how you tie that back to what we hunt. I know that there's many things that affect the way we hunt. I mean, obviously, I'm not against states protecting the game.
I'm not either.
I guess I'm going to say I'm not against legislation and laws that protect the whitetail.
I'm not either.
Because there's enough people in the state. If everybody just wanted to go hog wild, we man has done it. We've done it without control. We've about wiped the buffalo out. And
Sure.
There should have been by the time they got that shut down, it was like there's just a few left.
Yeah.
So I'm not against that, but there's the old saying, ditches on both sides of the road.
But there's a massive problem when the people who are writing laws pertaining to deer hunting have never stepped a foot in the woods.
That, or even think it's wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, you're a step back, whether it's deer hunting, any hunting. You're fighting from behind if the people that are making the laws are not even, they think it's wrong.
Well,
and I would say to think it's wrong, that's the wokeness ideology that can affect us, because they're never going to show up and be like, no more hunting.
Yeah.
But they want to. I'm sure there's people out there that are smart enough to know, it's like, well, if we make this law, and then we make this law, in 20 years, we might be able to just totally
it's a lulling you to sleep.
Lulling.
Is what it
Yeah,
is.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of the long-term goal, is like, if we could take this completely away. Now, there's always that argument that there's enough money involved, and there's dollar bill signs, and many, I don't know, what would you call them, politicians' eyeballs, that maybe they see a way that we can't get rid of that because of the dollar bills involved.
Sure.
Then on the other end, what I see is like I said, with apart from laws and legislation and all these things, I never thought I'd be sitting talking about stuff like this in a microphone. But apart from all that stuff is what would you call it? The harsh judgment, or of just people in general that would look at you. Like if the average person from the city what did Phil Robinson always? He's like, "You've been up in the the
The
suburbs."
burbs, yeah.
What did he say? You've been up there in the suburbs too long. People, you need to get back out here in the country. So if people that have no understanding, they think they don't understand, why we go hunting, the basis of it, they look at you with a harsh judgment. But then you can talk to the same people, and they probably eat meat.
Well, and I think there's some issues that I see amongst so many of these outdoor. Um, I got to be careful here because I don't think it's across the board in regards to outdoor celebrities but I do think there's a great pulling or a great almost need to feel or to make yourself sound like. Well, let me say this. I remember I remember seeing Uncle Ted one time, and this was at the Sportsman's Awards, and he was talking about quit apologizing for killing deer. And because guys would kill a deer and they'd be like, "Man, he's not what I was wanting. Man, I should have waited, or I should have quit apologizing. You're out there for the hunt. You're out there to enjoy it. You're out there for the experience." And I think that right in there in and of itself is an element of how a mild woke ideology has crept in. I think there's times when guys, and I mentioned this earlier, where I, I wanted to puke watching a guy on an episode. He got down next to the deer and was like, "Thank you for your life, friend."
Right.
And I was like, come on. Like, we're not like new age. We don't look at that animal and think he's passed on and now, we are absorbing his life energy. Like, it's not like that.
That's where I started. I was like, of course, we're both born again believers, and we believe the word of God. We believe God sits on the throne. He has a son named Jesus and a Holy Spirit that fills us. And when you believe that way,
it affects everything else around you.
It touches everything.
Yeah.
So you take that away from people, or I don't say take it away. I mean, if that is not in a person's life, but they come at things, many of them, not all, but many people come at things from different ways, because I have an understanding that God created me in his image and his likeness and put a spirit being within me.
Sure.
And that animal doesn't have that.
Yeah.
He was not created that way. And then because of the fall of man and sin and everything entered in, God was the first one to kill an animal. It says he took the skins off of an animal.
That's right.
To make coverings for Adam and Eve. Because he said, hey, fig leaves, they ain't going to work. They're going to dry out and you're going to be naked again.
We're having T-bones tonight, boys.
So they were wearing leather. Was the first garments ever made was leather, which is the skin of another animal. So all the people that are against anything getting killed, you better get every piece of leather. It better be some sort of synthetic material, which is worse for the environment. It's not as good. Just go down that path. But so we believe that animal, at the end of the day, you respect them. You do your best to, when you're hunting, to get them done quick. Never mistreat them. Don't abuse them. If you got dogs, feed them. Take care of them. All those things we believe in. But at the end of the day, that is an animal. And there's a person over here that has a spirit that's going to endure and live on forever in one way, shape, or form.
And there's a difference.
And there's a difference.
Yeah. Even going back to Genesis, what was it that God told Adam he was? He was the caretaker over those things.
Yeah.
And we're
to subdue it and take care of it.
Sure. And we're still supposed to be that.
Yeah, even after that. He said, now you're subduing, I paraphrase a little bit, and you're taking care of just got hard.
Yeah.
He said you're going to sweat.
You made some poor choices there, bud.
Thistles and things are going to grow.
Yeah.
And now you're going to have to kill that cow over there to eat it.
How do you feel? How do you feel like this administration change is going to determine or affect hunting and regulation?
Well, I think as far as uh, as far as pro gun, it's obvious that the new administration is way more pro gun.
Sure.
I don't know the depth.
I think realistically, that's where we will see the most advancement in regards to that.
But the,
Uh,
the pro gun, you know, uh, a woke person says you don't need a honeymoon. You can go buy your meat. The Second Amendment, and we've heard this, and this, was not so that we could go kill a white-tailed deer.
no,
It was to protect yourself.
from government.
But one of the benefits with that comes with protection is also you can take care of yourself with that.
Sure.
I mean, if push comes to shove, I would rather see somebody eat a deer as starve. So uh, we don't live that way right now. It would be far greater, and everybody be more healthy if we did live that way. If you weren't going to Walmart tonight to buy your burger, I mean, everybody knows that.
Yeah. Pink slime's in there.
Yeah, you hear crazy stuff like if you butcher your own meat, people that don't have never butchered their own meat, even with a cow. You guys have done cows
Sure.
and pigs, and we've done deer, and we've ate coons and rabbits and
You name it.
and catfish and bass and crappie, and we know how to lay it on this table and turn it into something that we can sit around and eat.
Sure.
And you know that when you grind up meat, it does not look like it does at Walmart
No.
or Kroger's and I have heard stories that there's things like certain dyes, and
Yeah.
there's even heard one story. Who was it? I think it was telling me and you that they put uh, red Kool-Aid in it to keep it pretty looking. What was it? Red Kool-Aid in the ham salad.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you make ham salad at home, it does not look all pink and pretty like ham salad that you buy at the store.
Sure.
And they put red Kool-Aid in it because it turns brown, and it's still good to eat.
Yeah.
And you
butchered, sweet.
Yeah, and Kool-Aid in and of itself.
Yeah.
And they put, how you get red Kool-Aid on anything, it dyes it.
Yeah.
So they just put probably just a pinch or two to keep it all pretty when they grind it, and they keep it from turning that brownish tint that meat does turn. That's still good.
Oxidation occurs nearly instantly on meat.
Yeah.
Like if a steak is left out for, probably 30 minutes, you're going to start seeing oxidation happening on that piece of meat.
So I mean, I don't know how we got a path, but it's always talking about people that don't have an understanding of the Second Amendment was so that we could protect ourselves from ultimately tyrannical government.
Sure.
And then a benefit of having that weapon in your home is you can walk out the door, go out in the woods and shoot a rabbit and bring it home and feed your kids if they got hungry.
Yeah.
That's a benefit of that. And now people's like, well, we don't need to eat. That's so cruel to go out there and shoot that rabbit or shoot that deer when you can go to Walmart and buy an unreal pink red meat that has dye in it that keeps it looking pretty so it catches your eye. But then they've never been to a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
Those people that think it's wrong to shoot a deer ought to go to a beef slaughterhouse and watch that go down, where the blood flows like water.
Like the salmon of Capistrano.
Where the blood flows and what happens, I mean, it's and I'm not even against that. I'm glad that we have things put in motion that we can mass produce meat and get it to people to eat. I don't want nobody going hungry. I'm not against that. But they would think it was pretty nice what I did to that deer that was dead in 15 to 20 seconds with a well-placed arrow compared to the slop-infested thing that the poor beef had to walk through to get to the place. And then they put that thing that just has a piston that, bang, drives it into their forehead, kills them quick. But I bet that set them back on the rocker.
There was an interesting discussion that happened in the shop this year, and it was on a day that you weren't in here, I believe.
All right.
And
Missed out on that one.
yeah, it was an interesting one because what it was there was a Democrat who was in the shop, and somehow politics came up, and another guy in the shop looked at him and was like, "How can you vote that way when you know that everything that you're about to do to go out to hunt, they despise and want to tear down?"
Yeah.
Um, that's an interesting conversation.
Takes the power. It takes the power from the people.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you don't let the people hunt, I'm okay with the regulation that we can't go nuts and just wipe things out. But if you don't let the people hunt, you take the power away from them.
Well, I'm
A
a major
piece of it.
I'm a
Just
major proponent in everything government needs to be small. The government only exists for the purpose of its people,
right. Supposed
for
to,
the betterment of their life.
to protect them.
Yes. Like I don't see anywhere in the Declaration of Independence life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness of the animals. That's our job as the people to
Right.
make sure that we take care of those things.
Yeah.
Like it's not the government's job, it's our job. And I think that's another whole conversation that we could have, like in regards to government. Government should not exist in so many levels for the homeless, for like for all these welfare programs. And hear me out, and this is why. Because those are the roles of the church. That's not the role of the government. That's the role of the church to take care of the orphans, to take care of the widows, to make sure that the poor are taken care of. Like that is our role. That's not government role. And anytime the government takes over anything, it ends up becoming bloated, and it ends up becoming a shell of what it should be.
Right.
There's not a scenario.
It doesn't have to.
Name a scenario.
It seems to, because man can mess things up.
Name a scenario where the government made things better.
Yeah.
Like the federal post office. What a joke. Like it's a joke.
Yeah.
And all that being said, I understand that government has its place and its role, but its role is not to determine everything that we do. There needs to be freedom. And that's why America is a different model than every other model of government on the planet.
Right.
It's the reason why we're 200 and nearly 50 years in this experiment, which that's going to be interesting whenever Trump has the 250 year. Have you heard about this?
I have not yet.
There's going to be a huge celebration, and they're planning it right now.
Like the 250-year birthday.
Yeah. I think we ought to go. It'd be fun.
Is it going to be in D.C.?
I'm sure it probably will be.
We'll table that and discuss that. Circle back now and tell me what you think about wokeness and how do hunters in general react, or how has it infiltrated in your mind? Like these certain things are happening, these hunters are doing certain things, whether it be TV shows and stuff that is more in the public eye, and they're doing it this way because of the woke ideas.
Well, I mean, here's
or legislation or whatever against.
Here's one scenario. Me and you have been on a lot of shows.
Yeah.
When you kill a deer, what's the first thing you do when you kill that deer in order to, well, a lot of times what a lot of shows do is they walk up to that deer. They will clean that deer up because they don't want it to look like a bloody mess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
And then you will go back and you will make that walk and be like, oh, there he is.
Right.
Even though you've already been to that deer, you know what that deer is, but you just pretend in order to make sure that that deer is not a brutal, bloody mess for TV and for woke people. That's essentially what it is. Because I've never been shook up when I walked up to a deer and I was like, oh my word, that's awful. Instead, I was like, dude, check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that happens then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that stems down, and what you were saying earlier, that stems down from like hunting with a TV show, and then you're producing something that's going to go on the TV show that's going to go out to the public, and then the TV channel or whatever has told us it has to look like this. We don't want tongues hanging out.
Well, I mean, we got
You know what I mean?
Liver King that's eating all sorts of organs and drinking blood.
Yeah.
And we can't walk up on a deer that's got a little blood hanging out of his mouth.
On his tongue.
Yeah.
Hanging out.
I mean, I think as hunters, it would be fine if I saw a show where a guy walked up, rubbed it on his side, and went, oh, yeah, baby.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Sure.
Like, that would not freak me out, because we should not be determined who we're going to be based on what, these television shows say is okay and right.
It's shocking to people it's never done.
I know.
but that's what. So I think you're right in that. I guess it could also stem from at one time, I'd say not so much anymore, but so we should be able to for sure show it in today's age, because what's on TV at one time was much more, would it be regulated?
Yeah, it's regulated
just in
for sure.
TV in general. Back in the day when we were kids, we had this discussion. You watched a show growing up, or a movie, and then years later you went and rented it, or it comes on today's where they don't filter nothing out, and you're like, whoa. I didn't realize that was in that TV show. And you watched it as a kid because the TV channels just cleaned it up. So I don't know if some of that fell into that guy's, but in today's time, it's not cleaned up, because a kid can get on his phone or on TV and watch some of the most obscene, crazy, and hear some of the worst language. But
you can, can't you, James?
But we can't post on YouTube something that's too bloody.
Yeah.
YouTube will grab stuff that gets,
well, I mean, we're probably already shut down because we said the word gun. Like,
you think so?
I think it's very possible.
Let's see. Are we still on YouTube?
I don't know.
You can't tell there?
Not right now.
I'm going to YouTube right now to see if we're still on.
It's possible we are, but it's also possible that we're not. So, hey, it looks like we are.
It looks like we're there.
Gun.
But it's loosened up.
It has, but it's loosened up because people who understand
tired of being censored.
Absolutely,
yes, because it's a form. If I start talking about guns, Second Amendment, gun, Second Amendment, see if it'll kick us off. But
very well could.
Bullet, gun. Well, there was just a few years ago on YouTube. There's a gun channel I like to watch. I've got several of them I like to watch. Shooting different guns, different loads and stuff like that. It interests me. And
Cody says we're still up and running on YouTube.
Yay! And
Can we get some applause from the?
You don't know where the applause button is?
Applause.
There's not one.
But anyway, they were finding ways to say things different to keep from getting demonetized.
Yeah, well, that's where the Pew thing was really,
Yeah, like one of them. Two different channels. One channel, and this is wokeness, right? One channel was he quit calling it a gun, and he was calling it a mass accelerator or something like that. And because he has a channel where people send him all kinds of different shotgun slugs to shoot.
Sure.
And he's like, we're going to run this one through the mass accelerator today. Because every time he'd say gun, he'd get demonetized.
So I guess my question is, it's not that he was woke, but he was having to cater to that.
Yeah, he was because there's people that have developed.
It's a broke system, man.
There's people that have developed a channel that has made them profited them enough that they could walk away from a certain job that maybe they had. And this became their career. And then all of a sudden the censorship ramped up. And now to keep from losing what income they were living off of from that channel, they have to watch what they say to keep from getting demonetized. The other one,
Paul Cantrell better watch what he's about to say because I'm about to block him.
What's Paul saying?
Well, he calls me babyface, and then he's telling me that he'll give me $235 or $237.50 for that bow that's hanging back there. So
inside joke. He went up because he offered two.
He did, but he needs to go up. He needs to add a zero to that.
Oh.
Add a zero there, Paul.
So $237.500.
Yeah.
No, don't say yeah. I was joking. I was taking
not 0.500.
But then the other guy, I didn't finish. There's two channels. The other guy he found out he was getting demonetized because he always worked up different loads. He was a hand loader.
Sure.
And so he's always saying the word bullet. And the algorithm was grabbing him when he would say bullet, talking about bullets and guns, probably gun too, but bullets. So he was changed. I forget what he was calling the guns, and he would call the bullets bullets.
Bullets.
He's like, we're going to load up these special bullets today, and the algorithm couldn't grab him.
Yeah.
Because it was designed to catch a bullet. But anyway.
Well, it's kind of like Jonathan says, they're all a bunch of purple mohawk freaks over there.
Well, maybe.
Oh man!
But those were things. I think those have lightened up in the last.
They have.
I think they played their hands on that so far out that people.
Well, even with Facebook,
it showed up in this last election.
Yeah, and what Facebook has done even recently, did you see the podcast with Joe Rogan and Zuckerberg? Where he's like, how are people supposed to trust you?
Yeah. Especially with that hair. He changed his hair.
But it's a serious question. How are we supposed to trust them whenever, they were all about censorship, and now they're saying, well, we're going to ratchet that back, and we're not going to filter facts like we did before.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Filtering facts was not what they were doing, because there were all sorts of people who were spouting off facts, legitimate facts during COVID, and all that they were doing was saying, we're not going to let you talk.
Right.
Like they were squashing political opinions or political statements because they didn't like what they were saying.
Right.
And I mean, I really still believe that stuff happens even in the hunting communities.
It's a trickle effect.
Sure.
It's going to trickle down to us in some way, shape, or
form. It
absolutely
is a trickle down effect.
And it can be very innocent in how people, like hunters, respond to it. There's some, like with the individuals I was talking about with the gun channels, they have to change their wording.
Yeah.
And for the hunter, it can be apologizing that blood's running down my tailgate.
Yeah.
Sorry I didn't get that washed off. That's offensive to you. Or something. That was just something that popped off the top of my head. But I've heard people's like, I seen a truck and it had blood all over the tailgate, and we were like, blood on the tailgate means it was a good day.
High five.
Blood on the tailgate. So, I mean, but that's a real thing. Stuff like that. So that trickles down and it affects, what we do. Now, not everybody is a hunter.
Yeah,
so
but
I'm not against, to some degree, being
I'm
mindful of people's feelings. I'm not against that.
Yeah, I might be against that.
But it can turn into, I'm not against that, because if I find,
I want to love and respect people, but I also want to recognize that I cannot determine who I'm going to be based on what they think I should be.
Sure.
And to me, there's a difference.
If certain things I would just assume people not drop the F-bomb every other word around me. But at the same time, I guess I don't call them out.
Are you going to force that?
No.
No, you're not.
No.
Because we
now,
live
if it
in
got
America.
out of control and James and kids or your
Sure,
daughter, if your daughter was here,
that's a different scenario.
You know
that's where your actions are impeding somebody else.
Right.
And that's where you step in. I think that's where we have a responsibility to step in. Like, you know.
I guess the extreme of that would be like what I'm saying, I guess, is if you see blood on my tailgate and you get offended, I'm sorry. But the other extreme is that if you don't want to see a dead, bloody deer and I show up at your house and throw it on your front lawn, like, check this out, that would be wrong.
Exactly.
So that's kind of the same scenario.
Sure.
You know, or what I'm talking about. So, you know,
like,
so I'm not cleaning the blood off my tailgate.
If you're living your daily life.
But I won't show up at your house and show you what the inside of a deer carcass looks like.
Yeah.
If you don't want to see it.
Time to see the anatomy.
If you want to see the wound channel, I'll be glad to show it to you.
Yeah.
If you don't want to see it, I'm not going to show it to you.
I want to see it. I'm one of those guys.
I do want to see it. I want to see
Yeah.
I
want to be like, what did that wasp do to that animal?
Do they call that? That's not called.
What did that
autopsy.
schwacker do?
Is that necropsy?
I'm not sure. Better be careful of those.
Well, there's autopsies where you find out what killed a person, right?
Sean Odie says you can toss the deer in his front lawn.
Yeah.
He's going to take it and turn it into sticks. So,
man, I had some breakfast sausage made over at Parks, and it was delicious.
Primo.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was good.
I'm still working on that. I'm working on getting all the guys, all the local, I want to call them butchers.
Well, they are
because
butchers.
To me,
butchers.
A butcher is a high class thing.
Yeah.
I watched the show.
Blacktop. Yeah.
Have you watched that show?
It's
like the Butcher Challenge or whatever.
I have seen it advertised.
The bearded butcher has been on there,
yeah.
or one of them. It's a pretty interesting show. So
finish your thought. You're working on.
I'm working on trying to
the processing places.
Yeah,
it's one and the same.
I'm working to try and organize that to where we can have an evening where we look at all the processing companies or local processors and say, all right, what are your best products? Let's look at those and let's do a taste test. Let's do consistency. Like I would like to rate them on what we feel like those are the best and, honorable mentions.
We'd have an episode where various meats are piled on this table.
Salted and cured meats. Yeah.
And we have a battle of the butchers. That's what you said.
Battle of the butchers.
Yeah, that would be a good episode.
Yeah. Because to me, that's an art.
It is.
And not only that, but coming up with recipes that reach the masses, that's an impressive thing.
Yeah.
And
because you'll find it's like, and I'm sure if we lined them up here, I think we discussed this, we'd find that you like this one better than me.
Sure.
And I like this one better.
Absolutely.
So you're saying the butcher that can be like, I am making something that seems to grab everybody.
Well, I really enjoy DeWiggs, but today we had some Clark sticks come in, and I was like, that is premium.
Very good.
Yeah. But they're a massively different flavor.
They're different, yeah.
Massively.
And everyone I've had, I could say that's different. It's because that's their personal process and or recipe that they put into that.
And I've done enough of my own packaging and I've done enough of my own processing that whenever so I've gotten very used to DeWiggs sticks because that's who I use a lot of times.
Right.
And whenever I bit into that Clark stick, I didn't bite hard enough initially, and because I was expecting a DeWiggs stick.
Yeah.
DeWiggs use a very thin casing.
Right.
Clark's uses a very thick casing. And I'm
snap.
It does. It has more of a pop to it.
Snap into a Clark stick. Snap into a Slim Jim. Remember that commercial?
Oh, yeah.
So, Battle of the Butchers.
Yep.
That's in the works, huh?
Hey, that's awesome.
What's that?
Sean says he knows 2 processors in Jefferson County that are in. So,
Yeah, there you go.
hey, shoot us that information because we would love to connect with them.
We probably need at least 4 people at the table too, don't we?
We do.
That we
Yeah.
got a 4-way.
I would even
almost need a 5th.
Yeah.
Or 3 or 5, because
I would say 5.
Because you always have to have an odd number.
Yep. We want to break the tie.
Yeah, to break the tie. There you go. How about that?
Yep.
But anyway, the wokeness in the woods could affect the processing places.
It very well could.
I mean, if legislation goes in and starts pushing back on hunting, and every year there's less hunters, and that means every year, I'll just use Clark's because I live closest to them. That means every year, if there's less hunters, there could be less processing, which that's a livelihood for them. You know, it's something that they do, and they live from that. And so ultimately, you could say some legislation, and not just in hunting, if it's woke enough, is taking people's livelihoods from them, things that they've spent a lifetime building as a business or a. Think about that. If you think about it from that angle, it's just like the guys I said that built up. Like we're doing this, people will realize you just don't get up in the morning and build a YouTube channel that can support you financially.
No, we're 50 episodes in, and we've got like 80 people that you know.
So I'm saying, you know, these people that have worked and video after video and put out content after content to the point. Now there's probably people just fell into it because of something viral happened. But I would say on a bigger scale, most people, because they worked hard at it, they put out 2 to 3 videos or more a week, and all that editing and content that they come up with that intrigue people to the point that they got enough viewers that they could be monetized. And then for legislation or censorship, which to some degree can run hand in hand, I would think to some degree, takes their livelihood from them.
Here, let me ask you this.
Or can.
And this could be very theoretical. You don't need to give up over too much information, but how are you supposed to dispose of the carcass of a deer?
Gosh, I'd have to dig deep into the laws. I don't know if there's laws. I mean, if you take them to these processing places, they just dumpster the carcasses probably and take them to the landfill, don't they?
I'm not sure how they dispose of them. There are places across the state that if I kill a deer and I process it out, whenever I'm done with that carcass is supposed to go to one of those places.
Okay.
Do you know anybody that takes them to there? Can you name one of those places?
I would have to say, I guess, that I don't know anybody because I don't know if I knew that there was even places you were supposed to take the carcasses to.
They used to in the book, in the DNR book, there was a list of them that you could take. I think there was one up somewhere around Olney, and it's basically, it's a dump. Like they want you to take it someplace where that animal can be dumped.
The carcass. So when you say carcass, if anybody knows a deer that's been processed, you have the bones, the rib cage, a lot of the bones, the feet, the head, and the hide.
Yeah.
Which generally, what we think of a decent sized doe, the rib cage, feet, and the hide, and the head.
I'd say you're probably 35 pounds.
So you got a 35 pounds of just nothingness that will still put off the stink or draw animals,
Yeah.
Deal with them correctly to some degree. But I don't know.
I recently asked a game warden what to do with it.
Mm-hmm. That's where I was going to.
He said, kick it off in a ditch.
No kidding.
Yeah. Because here's the deal. That is an example of a law that is created by somebody who doesn't understand what we do.
Right.
It just is.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that turns into something for somebody if it's kicked off in a ditch.
and it's very possible that it's creating a job for somebody's cousin that they wanted to have a job. Does that make sense? Like sometimes
elaborate on that, because I think I know what you mean.
yeah,
But
sometimes we create positions for stuff that doesn't even need to have a position.
right, yeah, because some mayor slash governor
Sure.
slash political figures like, man, I could, and I'm all for creating jobs, but it has to be a job
That's needed.
that's needed, or
Yeah.
or something that produces fruit.
Well,
Yeah.
poor Johnny can't get out of his mom's basement, so let's give our nephew a job doing,
Opening the gate for people to come in and dump deer carcasses.
yes,
Yeah.
essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that he would tell you that.
Yeah.
Apparently that's against the law.
Sure.
I'm always pretty sure that it was, that you weren't just supposed to dump your remains or carcass, but that's what people do.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I was just in a place the other day calling coyotes and walked around a corner and there was the remains.
Well, I mean, I let my dogs chew on them for months.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
There was the remains of a carcass, that someone had butchered their deer at the house and had a rib cage and a hide left over, and a head. And
I wonder
they laid it in the edge of the woods, and that turns into a place for possums, coons, and coyotes to feed. And as much as we think coyotes need killed, because they do,
it's a circle of life.
At the same time, I don't necessarily want the coyote to starve to death.
Sure.
I'm not for anything turning into bones and dying a long, anguished, starving death. So, coyotes, coons, what other varmints, weasels, and minks, and everything else got something to come by, and they get a bite of what's remaining and a bone to chew on and make their day.
Yeah.
There's an interesting thing of how many deer get dumped probably every year, carcasses that is, and within a year or so, there's no carcasses to be seen.
Sure.
The circle of life, I guess you could say.
Yep. Well, is there anything else we really need to talk about this evening?
Well, I just think it would be an awesome thing somehow to get people that I guess you would say on the other side of what we are. I hate to call somebody woke, but someone that is against or don't believe in hunting, somehow to understand, the purpose of the Second Amendment, the purpose that with that comes the privilege to be able to hunt and feed yourself, and how to get them to understand, I guess.
But let me ask you.
You have to be rational. Yes.
Let me ask you this: is there anything that exists like the NRA for the archer?
I would say no. There are, and it's been recent. There are countries that are outlawing archery, hunting. That is. Pretty sure there's. I don't know what they're called, and I think I've talked to you about
communist.
That like archery hunting in a certain area in Australia was just for a certain animal was made illegal. They passed legislation saying you couldn't do it. So, and I'd say that's a form of wokeness.
Well, it's interesting. Like, what was that? Chuck Adams. They had him come and hunt an elephant in Africa, and I read his book, and it was very interesting because he just flat out said exactly what he did and why he did it. And he said that when asked by the country whether they should allow archery hunting on elephants, he told them no, because it secured that he was the only one who had ever killed one there. Like, they opened it up for him in an effort to do a study,
right?
But rather than saying yes, it's possible for people to ethically kill, he did say he didn't feel like it was an ethical, it was a proper way to do it. Like, because of the magnitude of what he had to do. Like, he was shooting like 120-pound limbs with a crazy weighted arrow. And he said the average guy can't do what he had done on that hunt.
Right.
So, but he also alluded to the fact that he knew that it solidified that he was the only one who was going to get to do it as well. Uh, and there was part of me that was like, well, that was kind of sleazy, but it's also interesting that he was willing to admit that.
But then at the same time, he has to be honest. He's like,
sure,
he's like, I guess he's being honest in the fact that he's like, very few people could do it. So maybe the right thing would have been to do it if he did it and it was efficiently done to some degree. I always said when you're starving, if you're starving,
all that goes out the window.
Ethics go out the window.
Yeah.
People circled elephants with spears probably when the village was hungry, 200, 300 years ago, and got it done somehow. But anyway,
they killed dinosaurs that way.
He probably should have said, well, if you can use the equipment that I was using, then you could go ahead and do it, because I did it.
It's an interesting thought.
You know what I mean? He should have said, well, if you can pull a 120-pound point bow and shoot a 1,200 grain arrow.
If you guys want a good read, that was a fantastic read.
What's it called?
Living Life at Full Draw by Chuck Adams. Fascinating guy, because that guy has killed more animals than probably most people on the planet.
Yeah. Spend his life shooting animals with a bow.
Yeah, there are other guys who have killed more. One of those being Teddy Roosevelt, obviously, and it's possible Jack Birmingham has killed. That dude's killed a lot of stuff too. So, but I don't think anyone holds the records that Chuck Adams holds.
Yeah, he's got records.
World
records.
Yeah. So
world records. But, so anyway, I guess at the end of this, I would say, if you're a hunter, make sure.
Be aware.
And
at the
do
same
things
time,
right.
Yes.
Do things right. And don't apologize for doing things right, I guess.
Don't apologize for being a hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe, you check the way you hunt and be like, has any of that, do I do certain things because of wokeness? Because of agendas that other people, and I was like, well, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think God does need to check that.
Do I do certain things because I
want to be PC?
Yeah, politically, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Politically correct. And I don't want anyone to be rude or out of manner to some degree, but also I don't apologize, or I don't want us to be apologetic because we go whitetail hunting or rabbit hunting or something. So I'm sure there's lots of information that could have been dumped.
UP is down with PC. Yep. All right. So that's been episode 50, Woke in the Woods. It's pretty evident that we are down with wokeness in regards to hunting and the such. But we are not down.
Okay.
Down as far as
we
are opposed.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are pro Second Amendment. We are up with archery hunting and making sure that guys are in the woods. So that's basically our episode for this evening, episode 50. We appreciate you guys watching. If you guys get a chance, like, share, comment, all those things are helping us out and making sure to grow the channel. If you haven't already, make sure you go to YouTube and subscribe. Please share it with a friend, share it with a coworker. Let them know that we are out here trying to grow not only knowledge, but also grow awareness for the outdoor and for the archer. So thanks for watching Up for Discussion. We appreciate it. And next week, well, we'll see where we're at. But next week, hopefully, we can line up some more of these butchers And
Battle
Paul
of the
says, good
bushes.
as always. Paul, we appreciate it. And we will catch you guys later.